Let's set the record straight. Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. I've got a lot to talk about going on in the Big Ten, presented and brought to you by FanDuel. We have a record to set straight about Indiana's offensive line and also some misconceptions from people out there about Rutgers. And I'm just ticked off at this point. I don't understand why people don't understand what is going on in college football, what is going on in the conference. And honestly, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to start the Big Ten Huddle is because there's a lot of people out there that just get so centrally fixed on their team that they do not realize what is actually going on in the conference, the behind the scenes stuff and things like that. And so I want to set the record straight on people that are saying that Rutgers should leave the Big Ten and the Big Ten should get rid of Rutgers and all this stuff. We'll get into it, but I want to set the record straight on that. And then, of course, we'll get to my Big Ten basketball power rankings to start this huge week coming up here in the Big Ten basketball realm with everything else going on. So please do like, subscribe, do all that good stuff for us. If you like and subscribe and you comment down below, you'll be entered into winning a piece of apparel, $100 or less from Home Field at the end of the month. I will send a reply to the comment winner. So check your notifications and be ready. But if you comment down below, if you like the video, if you subscribe to the channel, then you will be entered into that. If you're on podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and I will also include those in there as the randomized picker as well. A 5-star rating, just 5-star, but you do need to leave a comment with it. You can't just do 5 stars and move on. Do a 5-star rating and say, JR, you're so handsome, but I can't see you on podcast, but I just know you're handsome by your voice. That's fine. Okay. Yeah, I will accept a comment like that. But we appreciate you being here as we do have a lot to get to in the Big Ten Huddle. And the first thing we have to get to is Indiana's offensive line. So Indiana's offensive line is going to be very good next season, and I don't think people realize how good it's going to be. So they were a finalist for the Joe Moore Award this past season, and they blocked for, obviously, Fernando Mendoza, the Heisman Trophy winner, who got a lot of the accolades, the recognition. And don't get me wrong, Fernando was never one to take all the recognition. He always talked about his team. But one thing that he did talk about at times, but I would have liked to hear more from, was the offensive line. And I'm not blaming Fernando here at all. Please do not hear me say that. But this offensive line was fantastic this season. They paved the way for a program record 6 games of 300-plus rushing yards, the most in Indiana history and longest Power 4 streak since 2017. You had guys like Carter Smith not give up a single sack in the regular season. Actually, I don't even think he gave up a sack until that Miami game, which, Miami, pretty good team, pretty good defensive line. I believe they set the record for the most pressures since 2014 on PFF, their entire defensive line. So if that gives you any idea how many, or they tied the record, that gives you any idea how good of a defensive line Miami had. That's a really good indicator there. Bray Lynch started all 29 games over the past 2 years. They've been fantastic. And the good news for Indiana is these guys are coming back. Carter Smith, All-American left tackle, Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. He started all 16 games, 40 career starts. He's going to be a redshirt senior, elite pass blocker coming back. He said it after the game, and not a lot of people believed him. They said, Carter Smith, you need to go to the NFL. He's not going to the NFL. He's going to stick around. He's going to do a fantastic job. Bray Lynch, the right guard, who could also play center possibly next year. We'll get into that a little bit. He started all 16 games at right guard in this past season, 29 straight starts over 2 seasons. He's going to be a redshirt senior. Drew Evans could be left guard, could be right guard, just, whatever guard you need to possibly put there. Rising redshirt senior as well, returning starter, all at guard with experience in run-heavy scheme. He's been a fantastic run blocker for this team, and he's going to come back. And then you have I might botch the name. I apologize. Adedamola Ajani. I think I said Ajani, right? He was more of a rotational guy this past season. Younger guy. I believe he's still an underclassman next season, but he was significant in the rotation. He rotated in at left guard, and right tackle in 2025, and he also started 4 games as well, including one, I believe it was either one or multiple games in the college football playoffs as well. He's going to provide depth, versatility, and also possibly be a starter next season. In addition to that, you added Joe Brunner, right? Now, when Indiana did not add a whole lot through the transfer portal, everybody thought, well, you're losing Pat Coogan, you're losing Khalil Benson, you're losing Zen Michalski, you're losing Carter Smith, you're losing Bray Lynch, all these guys. But it turns out you're only losing 3 of those guys. You're only losing really 2 starters, and that's Pat Coogan and Khalil Benson. Zen Michalski was a rotational player that got utilized as well, but you're only losing those 2 guys who, don't get me wrong, are really good players and were huge for this team this season. But who was the one that everybody talked about? Well, we're gonna blow by this guy with our pass rush. It was Khalil Benson, and Khalil Benson, to his credit, stood up and did a very good job. And a lot of times when people thought he wasn't going to do a good job, but he was also a fantastic run blocker. And so you're going to need to find a piece to come in for that run blocker of Khalil Benson. But I think you can find it, because right now you have a 5-man starting lineup for the Indiana offensive line with some young guys as well, some guys that Bob Bostad has brought up, who has brought in from the transfer portal, that are going to do a good job as well. And I think are going to be nice rotational pieces and just continue to elevate up into the starting lineup the next year. But your projected 2026 starting lineup on the offensive line looks masterful, right? Carter Smith at left tackle, All-American. Left guard, either Drew Evans or Joe Brunner. I mean, it just really kind of depends on what they want to put there. And then right guard, kind of the same thing, whichever one they want to put on that side. It doesn't really matter to me, whichever one Joe Brunner seems to be better at would make sense to me. You're most likely going to have Bray Lynch there at center, a veteran, a guy who can come in, call things and help Josh Hoover out. He's going to help slide protections. You saw how impactful it was to have Pat Coogan with his experience and what he did at Notre Dame. Now, his experience was at center, coming into play center. So, Bray Lynch didn't play center this season, but still knows the offensive line really well, has that ability, has that kind of leadership, we think, to be that center. And then, of course, at right tackle, that's where you most likely put Ajani. I mean, he had some kind of post-championship projections, and Bob Bostad would seem to want to put him there with how he rotated him in at that spot this season. So when you look at the returning production metrics, I mean, 3 of the 5 starters returning 60% of them continuity, plus high snap rotational players returning as well. The 7th most returning offensive line snaps in college football among top programs. I think it's Virginia is the only team with like over 10,000 snaps. I saw from a Twitter account called Dog Stats. They do a good job. Go check them out. I'll try to link the tweet down in the description below. But above average retention compared to typical championship teams who typically lose, more than 60% of their O-line production. Indiana is going to bring back, more than 60% when you take into account the starters, the rotational players that are going to be coming back as well. I think this Indiana team needs to be seriously considered for the Joe Moore Award next season. I mean, and I'm not saying they're not being considered now. I'm saying, like, as a favorite, going into the season, Indiana is going to have the best offensive line in the Big Ten. I'm not picking anybody else. It looks like to me they're going to have the best offensive line in the Big Ten. Sure, you can talk about Ohio State and what they have coming back, but they also didn't perform the best in the college football playoffs. And Indiana performed arguably better against that defensive front that Miami had in that game as well. Now, they did not face, Indiana's defensive line, but Indiana's offensive line faces them every day in practice. So, which you don't really grade that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a really good situation for Indiana. They're going to be bringing back a ton of continuity, proven track record with these guys. And, maybe they're not the highest rated recruits in the world and everything else, but they have age, they have experience. And how many times have we talked about how much age and experience matters in this era of college football? 2023 Michigan had a ton of age, a ton of experience. 2024 Ohio State had a ton of age, a ton of experience. And actually, one of the things that was most surprising about that is the injuries that they had on the offensive line. Their left tackle Josh Simmons goes down in the Oregon game. McLaughlin He goes down before Penn State at center, and then you're trying to rotate these guys around. And then in addition to that, you have one of the best offensive line coaches in all of college football, and Bob Bostad. I know Wisconsin fans don't like it when we mention him because he really is just such a fantastic offensive line coach. But he's done a great job at Indiana. He knows how to accumulate talent. He knows what kind of guys he wants to look for. He does a great job of communicating with the offensive coordinator, and you're going to have that continuity again as well. I don't think people are giving Indiana enough credit for, yes, the returning production that they're going to have, but also the returning coaches they're going to have. Mike Shanahan coming back once again on offense. Bob Bostad coming back once again on offense. This type of stuff is going to be huge for Indiana next season. It's going to be one of the reasons why I'm going to have Indiana as the best offensive line in the Big Ten and possibly the best offensive line in the country going into next season. I mean, you look at who they have, you look at the coaching and everything else, you can't really get away from it. So you got the coaching edge, you got the continuity, you got all the metrics and everything out there helping them out. We'll see what happens with right tackle. That would be my only little bit of concern with Ajani, just because we've not seen him start for an entire season. Maybe some depth stuff there, but at the same time, there was also stuff with the depth that we didn't know about this season. And Kirk Cinetti told us before the season, yeah, I feel good about going 7-8 deep. And that's what they had to do this season. And it worked out for them. They made their way to the national championship. They had a Joe Moore Award finalist unit there. And I think this season, I think they're going to do it. I think they are going to win the Joe Moore Award. And Kirk Cinetti just does a fantastic job developing these guys, putting them in the right situations, and obviously coaching them and doing a great job with it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And again, if you comment down below, you will be entered in for the Home Field Apparel giveaway at the end of the month. Anything $100 or less, I will let you select off of Home Field to be bought and sent to you. You don't pay for shipping or anything like that. I'll pay for it. I'm paying for all of it. Just trying to get the likes and the subscribe and the comments up. If this doesn't work, I'm not going to keep doing it. So if you want more free Home Field, you can do that down below, and we'll do that. And also, if you just want to buy Home Field for yourself, you're like, JR, appreciate you wanting to buy it, but I saw something on there earlier today I want it. I get it, man. Use the affiliate link down below in the description. Would really help me out a ton. And for you podcast listeners, same thing. 5-star review. I do need you in the review to say, your Twitter handle, something like that. Give me a way to contact you. Say, hey, this is such and such from Twitter, something like that. Hey, this is such and such from YouTube. Let me know so that way I can get in contact with you if you are chosen, selected there as a 5-star rating and reviewer on podcast. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about this Rutgers situation because I think there needs to be a lot discussed here. So stick with us. We'll be right back. I understand a lot of people look at a program like Rutgers and don't see a ton of success over the years, and they say, why is Rutgers in the Big Ten? And there was some news posted on X today from NewJersey.com. I think it's actually NJ.com. An article written about how Rutgers hit a record $78 million deficit in their athletics department in the 2024-2025 fiscal year there. So Rutgers has been in the Big Ten since 2014. They've had a lot of, they've had a good amount of financial deficits that they've hit, but they just hit the record of $78 million this past year. Due to high spending, facilities, coaching, NIL to compete and trying to do all that stuff. And I think that's the part of it not a lot of people are seeing, because you're looking at if you read this article and you go down in the comment section below, which, as always, be careful going in the comment section, but you go down there as everybody's saying, well, Rutgers needs to leave the Big Ten. The Big Ten needs to kick Rutgers out and all this stuff. And I just need to remind people that, yes, Rutgers does have the worst Big Ten football conference record since joining the conference in 2014. They are 22-84 in Big Ten conference games. However, Rutgers also spent a school record $76.1 million on its football program during the past fiscal year as well. So yes, the wins are not stacking up like you might think they would by spending more money. But hello, Nebraska, who has gone through a lot of the similar stuff. They've poured money into that program. They just haven't seen results for it yet. And while that needs to be discussed, and probably there is going to be discussion about Greg Schiano at some point this season if things don't work out for him. And I know a lot of people say, well, Rutgers can't afford the buyout. And I'm not saying that they are going to afford it. I'm just saying you never really know what's going to happen until stuff actually starts happening. That's when you learn, are people willing to make this happen or not? I'm not calling for Greg Schiano's job by any means. I like Greg Schiano, and I think Greg Schiano has been the best coach in Rutgers football history, but it does need to be asked, is he the guy to get it done? Because they are investing a ton of money right now. Now, the past 2 seasons, I think anybody who watched Rutgers and watched them closely could recognize 2 seasons ago, you had a lot of injuries. That was very unfortunate for this Rutgers program, a ton of injuries. And while that's no excuse, that was also the season where they had maybe a cushier, not an easy, but a cushier schedule that could have helped them get to that 8-9 win mark. And unfortunately for them, they just weren't able to get there. They had some tough losses, that game against Illinois a couple of years ago where they lost last second. And some things happened to them that was just very unfortunate for the Rutgers program. This past year, they get one of the most difficult schedules in all of the Big Ten, and they go 5-7. So you tell me, is Rutgers really a bad program if they get one of the toughest schedules in the Big Ten and they're going 5-7? I'm not saying 5-7 is a good record, but if it's one of the worst programs in the Big Ten, you'd think they'd be going, 3-9, 4-8, or something like that. But instead, they went 5-7. They were right outside of bowl eligibility, and they almost got bowl eligible by beating Penn State. Penn State was obviously able to beat them in that game. But I do think that a lot of people are kind of missing stuff here with Rutgers because they just look at the overarching idea of the Big Ten, the conference, and they don't actually focus in on certain teams. And that's why I think it's so important that you listen to podcasts like the Big Ten Huddle, because we cover every single Big Ten team. We might not put out a video on every single team at every point in time, but we do cover every single Big Ten team, and we're trying to get you content to help you understand what's going on with them. So as far as the Big Ten goes, and other people saying, well, the Big Ten needs to get rid of them or Rutgers needs to leave the Big Ten to be competitive, that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Rutgers needs its Big Ten membership to provide media revenue, $60 to $70 million annually to them, which is essential for their debt reduction. Leaving would completely eliminate that ability for them to continue to reduce their debt with the large amount of TV money that they're getting. But Rutgers was added for a specific purpose of the New York City and New Jersey media market, boosting their league-wide TV deals. And I think, you say that, and a lot of people get very confused because many people argue that media markets are becoming obsolete due to the digital streaming and everything else. And, that doesn't do what it used to do back in the day. And while it's true, TV and things like that are changing, digital streaming provides more access for people who want to watch maybe better on-field performance or bigger brands or content quality in terms of, maybe what station or broadcasting station you're watching. People see ratings not just due to geography, but through compelling matchups and national appeal. And if we're being honest here, I love Rutgers, but Rutgers does not have the biggest brand, and they don't provide the most national appeal right now. That said, markets are not obsolete, and I don't think markets will ever become obsolete. They still influence potential eyeballs at one of the largest rates in all of TV. They impact local sponsorships and recruiting in populated areas as well. So while streaming does accelerate a shift in value, especially in terms of, TV watching and stuff like that, media markets provide a consistency that the parity of college football is continually challenging. And I think after what we've seen the past few seasons, it would be a mistake to look at somebody and say, well, you're not all that good at football, so we're going to knock you out of here, especially for a program like Rutgers, because Rutgers is prioritizing Rutgers football. They are prioritizing their football program financially. If Rutgers was not, prioritizing funding for their football program, I'd be with you. Get them out of here. You don't come into the Big Ten just to take a check and move on. But they're not doing that. Rutgers is spending the 12th most in college football with their operating budget. I mean, go look at extra points from Matt Brown. He's done great reporting on this. The 12th most. I'm not saying 12th most in the Big Ten, 12th most in all of college football. In fact, they are 6th in the Big Ten, right behind Penn State, a few million behind Ohio State, Nebraska, Michigan. Schools like that are the schools we're talking about that are investing the most, and Rutgers is right behind them. In fact, Rutgers is spending more. They have more of an operating budget in college football, compared to Indiana, who is 13th. So Rutgers is 12th, Indiana is 13th, and Indiana, when 2 years ago in 2024, when they hired Kirk Cinetti, they were bottom 3 in the Big Ten in win percentage since 2024 in conference games. So we just talked about how Rutgers has the least amount. Indiana was bottom 3 in terms of that 2 years ago. Now they're middle of the pack because they've gone out and they've gone 8-1 this 2 seasons ago and 9-0 in the conference this last season. Now, am I saying that Rutgers is going to have a level up like that anytime soon? No, not necessarily. But what I am saying is that investment is what a lot of these coaches look for. A lot of these coaches don't want to go to a school where the school is not going to invest. Look at Luke Fickell and what they did when they didn't want to fire him. They said, well, we got to invest more money into him. Look at UCLA right now. Bob Chesney took that job because he saw they're going to invest more in this program right now. Aggressive spending is something that a lot of these programs have to do in order to create more revenue, and also in order to show their worth to the conference that, hey, we're not just going to sit here and take your checks. We're going to come in and we're going to actually push to try and be as good as we can be, create a better brand, create more compelling matchups. So that way it's not just our geography. Our geography makes sense. Our media market, it makes sense. It's a consistency that you need, but it's also not just what we can provide. You see, Rutgers, they're not just saving the TV money. They are spending and they are trying to win. The Big Ten is going to pay for how well you perform soon. I mean, it's just going to happen. You look at the UC investments deals, and I know not everybody was on board with the UC investments deal, and that's fine. I'm not trying to relitigate all of that. But what I am saying is that the UC investment deal showed us that the path forward for the Big Ten is that bigger brands and better competition will earn you more money. And so Rutgers is consistently trying to get to that place. Has it worked out for him? No, not the past few years, but I also gave you reasons why the past 2 years it didn't work out for him. And if something does happen and Greg Schiano gets fired, guess what? It's going to be a more attractive destination for a head coach than a lot of people give him credit for. And Rutgers is going to be able to go out there and try to get a really good head coach. Are they going to get, somebody from the SEC or something like that? No, probably not. But they could get somebody that is like a Bob Chesney or like a Kirk Cinetti, who, I'm not putting those same expectations on him, but I am saying if Greg Schiano can't get it done, it's not like what many people would think, which, well, if Greg Schiano can't get it done, nobody can get it done. I think they're going to continue to invest and look at this program and say, we have to continue to try and win more to gain more so we can do this. And if you follow a lot of the stuff, Greg Flugard just did an episode last night about Ohio State is cooking in the Big Ten and how Ohio State is pushing for more funding for themselves because Ohio State knows they are the most consistent program, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of college football. They know that, hey, we are not a type of program that's going to drop off. Right? Indiana had a huge boost here lately, and that's fantastic, and that's great for them. But it's just been lately, right? Michigan had their huge boost in 2023, but they've fallen off a little bit. Still good TV numbers, but there's a reason why Ohio State is the most selected program for Big Noon Kickoff, because they bring compelling matchups, they bring TV eyeballs, and they bring good on-field performance. I mean, that is what people want to see, and you have the media market to go with it as well. Ohio, not just Columbus, but like Dayton, all these other places around Columbus, Ohio are hungry, are starving for football, and they're going to watch. And so you look at all this put together. Is Rutgers going to be kicked out of the Big Ten? Heck no. They're not going to be kicked out of the Big Ten anytime soon because Rutgers is trying to win. Rutgers is financially investing in their program and everything else around it. Has it worked out for them the past 2 years? No, unfortunately it's not. But does that mean that it's never going to work out for them? I don't think so. I think Rutgers at some point is going to start winning more football games, especially if they continue to match this investment that they've showed us the past few years. Are they going to win the Big Ten? No, I don't think so, but maybe. I mean, Indiana did, and we saw how that happened. Are they going to get to 8-9 wins? I could see it happening. Are they going to get to 10 wins? I could see it happening. I think this Rutgers program is primed to do some big things at some point. I think Greg Schiano can be the guy to get it done. We'll see if he does. But overall, this Rutgers program wants to win, and they're spending like it as well. So please do like, subscribe, especially if you're a Rutgers fan and you understand what I'm getting at here. I know a lot of Rutgers fans are frustrated with the program. I'm not trying to make you think the program is some juggernaut or anything like that. What I am trying to tell you is that the program is trying to win. They are not just sitting on their hands and saying, well, if we get killed by 40, we get killed by 40. It is what it is. They're out there trying to find good recruits. They're out there trying to hire good coaches. And really, honestly, the biggest indicator will be what happens with this defensive coordinator hire. What happens with this defensive coordinator hire will show us the level of investment Rutgers has. Because if it's just Greg Schiano calling plays and they hire some dude that doesn't really do all that much, then yeah, I might need to eat my words on this video. But I believe they are going to go out and try to make a big hire here. Does that mean they go after a Matt Patricia type? No, not necessarily. But that does mean that they're going to go out and try to hire somebody for this job that's going to do a good job. That is more than just, kind of nickel and diamond and stuff like that. Are they going to pay $300 million, $3 million plus or anything like that? Who knows? I don't think so, but I do think that you're going to see a good amount of investment from this Rutgers program because the defense was unacceptable last year. And I think Greg Schiano knows it was unacceptable, and he knows his path forward is not to hire somebody so he can call plays. I think he knows that he has to hire somebody good, and I think Rutgers is going to back him up and try to make that happen because you don't become 12th in college football in operating budget just by accident. It's very much so on purpose. Are they losing a bunch of money? Yeah, they are. But you got to spend money to make money, and it's just a matter of time before Rutgers starts making that money. We'll be right back. Let's talk some Big Ten hoops. All right. Have not done enough of this lately. I promise we are going to get more into Big Ten basketball. February is starting. Going to try to make at least one basketball segment in every single episode. We did have Ohio State and Penn State play on Monday night. Ohio State got that win. Penn State made it a close one a little bit late there, but Ohio State gets the win, and we are going to now power rank all the Big Ten teams following that game. And really, with a huge week of Big Ten basketball coming up. Michigan, Nebraska, Illinois, Michigan State, Indiana, Purdue. I mean, you got really big matchups. Iowa, USC is an underrated matchup that you need to look out for as well. So here are my power rankings. I'm just going to go through them a little bit. And then if you would, please let me know. I'm sorry, guys. I got like something in my throat right now. Please let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Again, comment, like, subscribe. You're going to be entered in to win some free home field apparel. If you don't win, don't worry. I got an affiliate link down below. Just be checking after you comment to see if I reply to you at the end of the month. And if I do reply to you, I'm most likely telling you, hey, great job. You won. And we'll get you all set up with something there. So Big Ten basketball power rankings. I got Nebraska number 1, 20-0 so far on the season. I think a lot of people have Michigan here, and Michigan, is rightfully so a team that you would have at number 1. But I think Nebraska needs some more credit. In Nebraska, they actually have more quad 1 wins than Michigan right now. Now Michigan's faced more quad 1 and quad 2 teams. But Nebraska, I really like this basketball team. I really like the way they've been playing. Really elite defense. I believe right now they are 11th in KenPom, unless that changes. But a high 3-point volume, 51% of their attempts are 3-pointers because of that 5-out offense that they play. And when you play that type of style with, tons of 3-point shooting with really good defense on the other end, and when you're actually making your shots, it is almost unbeatable what they're able to do. And it's going to be decided because I have Michigan number 2. It's going to be decided Tuesday night. Well, tonight, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, we'll see how this one works out. I'm not predicting that Nebraska's going to win or anything like that. But I am saying that I think Nebraska right now, based off what I've seen, is the better team here, in my opinion. We'll see, how it plays out. And as we all know, just because you win one game doesn't mean you're always the better team. But I think right now, with how I've watched these teams, I think Nebraska is the more complete team. And I do think Michigan, dealing with some injuries and stuff right now, that impacts things as well. So at Michigan, we'll see how this game goes. Number 3, Illinois, 9 straight wins. I know a lot of people would have Michigan State over Illinois, and that's fine. I get that if you do. But Michigan State they're my number 4 team. Michigan State, they've all of their wins have have been my 10 or more ever since I think it was December 20th is where I had it, because except for the Nebraska game, which obviously they lost. So they've been destroying teams, but they really haven't played all that many challenging teams. It kind of gives me a reflection back to Michigan State. And I'm not saying on the season, I'm just saying on the stretch here where they've been beating teams by double digits or more. Illinois has played more difficult teams in this stretch where they've won 9 straight, and they played Nebraska. They lost to Nebraska like Michigan State did as well. So that's how it goes. But right now, number 1 defense for Michigan State in the country, number 1 offense for Illinois in the country. I think you're good either way, 3 or 4, however you want to put this together. But I had to give Illinois a bigger boost for beating Purdue, especially in Mackey. No Kylan Boswell, all that stuff. I think I had to give Illinois a bigger boost here, so that's why I put them at 3. Michigan State, obviously phenomenal team. Obviously, Tom Izzo got these guys cooking. They're doing a great job. Great defense always. Really good contributions on the offensive end. Jeremy Fears doing a good job. It's not the best offense in the country, but it gets it done with how good that defense is. Number 5, I got Purdue. I'm a little concerned about Purdue at this point, but not too much. They lost 2 straight. We'll see if they can go to Bloomington and get off of this losing streak here. But those Hoosiers are always tough. They're always going to play them tough. This won't be Mike Woodson playing them. Mike Woodson always got this team up and ready for this game. We'll see how Darian DeVries does here. But Purdue, I got there. Number 5, didn't want to drop them any lower than USC, who I have at number 6. USC, really, one of the reasons I have them there is their win over Wisconsin. Chad Baker-Mazara, 29 in that game, was huge for them. Their 5-star arenas kind of struggling post-injury type of stuff, but they had a tough home loss to Northwestern. I think that's why a lot of people kind of have them lower, but I did think the win over Wisconsin here was big enough that I'm going to put them number 6. And I think Wisconsin, after that win over Michigan, you have to give them a lot of credit too. That's why I have them there at number 7. They destroyed Penn State, but they blew that 12-point lead against USC. And so, we'll see how it plays out here, but at least for now, USC, I think when they play to their level, they are number 6. They don't always play to their level. Great comeback by them against Wisconsin. I'd understand why people might have USC a little bit lower, maybe down at like 9, 10, 11. But for me, I got them up there at number 6. We'll see how USC does the rest of the year. UCLA. Got them at number 8. They got their win over Purdue, but it was at home, right? You had a pretty amazing game from Donovan Dent there, and Tyler Bilodeau. He's been fantastic. Got that game-winning 3 as well. I like this UCLA team. I want to see the confidence continue to grow. I think once they get confident and once they kind of continue to play who they're supposed to be, I think that they can win a whole lot of basketball games. But right now, I just need to see that confidence. I think we saw that confidence against Purdue. We'll see if it keeps coming out. But right now, I got them number 8. Number 9, I have Ohio State, and Ohio State seems like the most middle of all middle teams in the Big Ten right now, because they can go toe-to-toe with Michigan for a good amount of the game, and they did. Michigan eventually pulled away and won that game, and they can go toe-to-toe with Nebraska, right? I think they lost by 3 points in that game. You can go toe-to-toe with Nebraska the whole game, but then you got like an 18-point lead against Penn State, and you almost blow that. Penn State almost comes back and beats you at Ohio State. Now, I know it was snowy and not as many fans there, but there's never fans at Ohio State. It sucks for Ohio State. They're 14-6 right now, 6-4 in the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens with Ohio State. I'm just not a huge believer in them yet. I think they're a good team, but they play up to their competition, which is great, but they also play down to their competition, and I don't think that's great. So number 10, Iowa. I do have them above Iowa because I do think their talent and skill level is better than Iowa. Not so with Bennett Sturts. Bennett Sturts is the better player, is the best player between these two teams, but I do think like overall, talent with them and everything, I think that puts it together. And Ohio State is better there, but Iowa, the struggle against Rutgers didn't really impact it for me. You trailed in the second half there, but it is what it is. So I like Iowa. I like this team. I think that they're just kind of a middle of the pack team as well, as they can kind of play up with the best of them, but they can also play down to their competition as well. Number 11, I have Indiana, 13-7 on the season. They dismantled Rutgers after their loss to Michigan, but Michigan also kind of dismantled them, right? So they've lost 4 of their last 5, but they're all the strong teams. Nebraska, Michigan State, Iowa, Michigan. They lost to good teams. So what are you going to do? It is what it is. But they did a good job of doing what they're supposed to do against Rutgers. So I'm going to keep them up there. Washington 2-5 since the new year. I have them at number 12, 4 losses to top 10 teams. So they are kind of going through a similar thing that Indiana is going through here, to where they're just losing to really good teams. And honestly, like, you could maybe try to put Washington up above Ohio State, but I think that was just a situation where Ohio State kind of played down. It was on the road. I'm not excusing it. That definitely keeps Ohio State down there at like the 5 for me. But really, any way you want to slice this 6 through 12 here in the Big Ten basketball power rankings, you kind of got to slice it, because I mean, you can't really argue with hardly anything there, because these teams are all just kind of deadlocked here in the middle. Now, number 13 is Minnesota. Minnesota 10-10 on the season, but they're a scrappy team, man. It seems like every single team that plays them is going to have a hard night going up against them. They just don't have enough legs right now, unfortunately for them. So they're ranked 84th in KenPom, but they're pesky. They're a tough out every single time, and you got to keep your head on a swivel against them. Number 14, I got Rutgers. Rutgers done a good job giving some teams some games, but they also have the worst 2-point field goal percentage in the conference. 16 in defensive rebound. Just doesn't look like a Steve Peichel team at times, but they're too young, not physical enough. We'll see if that continues to develop throughout the season. Oregon, really banged up. Don't really have a point guard right now with Shellstad and everything. Tough season for Oregon. They're battling, but I got them at number 15. Then I have Northwestern, Maryland, and Penn State. Penn State still having a hard time in the Big Ten, trying to get some of these wins and stuff, but they're just too young. They're too young. Maryland, two tough losses after beating Penn State. Coit, he scored 43 against Penn State, but struggled since then. 2 for 5 in his from 3 in his last 2 games. And like I said, Northwestern, Nick Martinelli, he's leading the Big Ten right now in points per game. That's fantastic. They competed well against UCLA, and they got their win against USC. Give them credit there. But overall, Northwestern, just a tough season for them so far. So that's where I have everybody in the Big Ten power rankings. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching or listening to this episode of the Big Ten Huddle. Please do 5-star rating and review if you're listening on podcast. I will continue to beg until we get more, and I will continue to beg for the likes, the subscribes, the comments, all that good stuff. And don't make me buy any more than one piece of home field apparel per month. All right, I can only afford so much home field, especially in the off season. I don't make as much money in the off season, but I am trying to get the likes, the comments, and the subscribes up. So if you would do that for me, definitely would appreciate it. And if we continue to see a rise in it, I'll just keep doing this every month. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.